Imagine a planet covered with atmospheric smog so dense the surface is invisible from space. Ash-spewing volcanoes jet from otherwise desolate, sand-covered landmass. No water pools in this world. As temperature reaches over 850 degrees daily, this planet is Venus. And the event responsible for such horrid conditions has but one name: global warming. Even though this scenario may seem a bit extreme, global warming has been raising the Earth's temperature for many years now, albeit at a slower rate, and is responsible for a temperature shift of over 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit over the past century. Some surmise that the effect is natural, and is the result of some normal change in the environment, as is evident by Venus, while others will disagree. However, in the last several decades, the speed at which the Earth is increasing in temperature has undeniably risen. While the phenomenon known as global warming is most likely has a few natural contributors, it must be understood that the vast majority of the causes of global warming are human-caused. Although it may not seem to be the case, the science behind global warming is actually fairly complex. To start with, the planet we call home can be compared to a giant greenhouse, with the atmosphere functioning as a reflective glass panel roof that can both let in and reflect light. This also means that the temperatures present on Earth are a direct result of an environmental balancing act composing of three main parts: changes in the greenhouse effect, variations in the sun's energy reaching Earth, and changes in the reflectivity of Earth's surface and atmosphere. For the most part, the elements of the aforementioned balance are only affected by the changes to the atmosphere. This is where the substances named greenhouse gases come into play. Greenhouse gases refer to either water, carbon dioxide, or methane, and modify the amount of heat retained by the atmosphere by absorbing heat energy that would normally be reflected back into space, causing higher temperatures than that would normally be present otherwise. Since energy supplied by the sun usually holds a constant pattern, and the likelihood of the entire Earth is becoming more reflective is very slim, the cause of global warming tends to be greenhouse gases. With global warming, much contention exists around the general cause. What creates the greenhouse gases or the overall heat? Some individuals believe, contrary to the established norm, that global warming is a natural process. This idea for how global warming functions can be seen throughout history, as global warming has existed for quite a long time. Usually the length of warmer temperatures would offset ice ages in ancient past, and would also be modified by natural disasters such as the mass extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs, after which the world was plunged into an age of ice due to the fact that such an event would eject tons of debris into the atmosphere, darkening skies for months or even years on end. A darkening that could function as an exact opposite of global warming, lowering temperatures planet-wide. In any case, these ages of decline in temperature eventually give rise to comparatively large-scale increases in the heat across the world, supporting a theory of temperature bouncing. This concept of cycles is also reinforced by the little ice age that existed between the 15th and 19th century, a time immediately followed by the 20th and early 21st century, which is likely the warmest period the Earth has seen in over 1,200 years. However, the described process does not account for the large-scale increase in temperature in recent times, a difference that would have taken centuries to occur in ancient past. Much of the heightened heat retention comes from the material usage that exists now but was absent in the past: utilization of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels tend to be cheap, effective sources of energy for much of the world and have been for hundreds of years, since their introduction during the Industrial Revolution of the 1750s. Today, a great deal of the U.S. is powered by fossil fuels, and United States power plants actually emit about 2.2 billion tons of carbon dioxide each year, which is created when fossil fuels are burned. This measurement is actually roughly 40% of the nation's total emissions of carbon dioxide. These huge additions of carbon dioxide provided by factories and other technologies create a massive influx of greenhouse gases that are introduced into the atmosphere, worse than the already heavy effect global warming has on the planet. Furthermore, chemicals known as fluorocarbons have been developed by humans only recently. Fluorocarbons react with the ozone layer of the atmosphere, creating more greenhouse gases as ozone molecules degrade to form oxygen gas which then combines with hydrogen molecules in the atmosphere to create more water particles that are actually responsible for the vast majority of global warming. The accumulation of these substances further advances the speed at which global warming occurs, a pace much different from earlier days. The reason for the incredible effect of human-created greenhouse gases on the speed of climate change is simple. Nature, like almost everything else not created by humans, only polices itself. In actuality, human production of carbon dioxide, the main man-made contribution to global warming, is minuscule in comparison to environmental carbon emissions, with microbes and animals creating over 220 gigatons of CO2 per year, where human CO2 accounts for only 26 gigatons per year. The difference is that the natural world balances this production with planetary vegetation and the oceans, which absorb or transport carbon dioxide in order to lessen CO2 levels present on the Earth. Man's CO2 has no opposite reduction, and while small, creates a gigantic change to the atmospheric state. The evidence clearly signifies that much global warming, if not most carbon dioxide production, is indeed human caused. Global warming may have been entirely natural in the past, but today this process is mostly caused by human interaction, as is evident from daily life. It is true that global warming is still partially natural, as the Earth does emit greenhouse gases over time. The nightmare of Venus' scarred surface is also self-evident with the deadly effect organic greenhouse gases can create. However, at the current time, such emissions are controlled by a complex system that maintains a stable balance, unlike the substances created by automobiles, power plants, and many other processes which are ignored at humanity's peril. The smallest amounts of CO2 released from human interactions can or will have great effect on the environment of the world. Something must be done. The state of the planet as it currently exists is too unstable to continue without human help. Global warming cannot be referenced as a planetary phase any longer, and must be treated as it is, a wide-scale, man-made problem.